the whole idea of whatever you do to your face, you have to do to your neck, that came from someone who actually said, we work from nips up. And I was like, oh, nips up, okay.
I don't think it's about the skin you start out with. I think it's about what are you willing to do to get to where you want to be. See you on the dark night.
I'm a big Slither fan, so I have to ask, what was it like to reunite with Nathan Fillion for skincare?
It was pretty good. No, Nathan and I have been friends since then. We've, always stayed in touch. He's an amazing human being. He's very busy being a big television star. So I was thrilled that he was able to carve out some time to be in this film. We were so lucky to have him. I absolutely love working with him. I thought he was amazing in the movie. And, we had a really interesting, fun scene to do together. We actually had a hard time keeping straight faces. We love to crack each other up. So it was a great reunion. I hope there are more in the future.
I hope so too. Well, and Hope Goldman is a very complex character. I could see her being liked and disliked by audiences based on her actions. It really depends on the viewer themselves. So how do you walk that fine line as an actor?
I think number one, I don't judge the character, right? I think she's very flawed. She's very narcissistic. She's very ambitious. But she's also built something incredible all on her own. And so there's so much to love and enjoy about her. And then there's also a lot of, I think, really relatable stuff too. I mean, for me, that the crisis of her is really existential. Somebody trying to hold on to relevance as a middle-aged woman in an industry that prizes beauty, youth, and what's new and next. It's like she is over and done and cooked. You know what I mean? Like I could relate to that. And I also thought, another thing that happens to her is like all the technology, one of the inciting incidents here is like she gets doxxed and like all this online crap happens to her. And she's just completely unprepared. We were joking that her password is probably like her initials 1, 2, 3, 4. Like this is not at the beginning of this film. She's going to sell products out of her storefront when the entire world is selling products online. She doesn't even have a social media presence. So, this is someone very naive about how the technology is working. And I also felt we are all feeling that right now. I mean, I don't know about you, but like I think about this the way we're doing this, like this used to be in person. We would have to be in the same city. We're doing this on a platform that didn't even exist 3 years ago. What is this going to turn into 5 years from now? Am I going to be an avatar of myself? Like the whole world is changing so fast around us. And I feel like a lot of people feel unprepared for it. And it makes us all feel really vulnerable. Like we're not sure what's happening. And I felt her vulnerability so much. And I felt it made her very desperate. And that desperation was so fun to play.
Yeah. I'm always curious as to how an actor approaches dialogue that's supposed to establish their character as an expert. Like what, and obviously your character is supposed to be an expert in skincare. So was there any challenge in learning all of the skincare material?
Well, first of all, I went and spent a lot of time with estheticians. So I got a lot of facials and I practiced a lot of facials and I learned technique and I learned lingo. And then we applied a lot of it to the film whenever we could. So some of the product line stuff, all of that came directly from lines and people that I talked to. The whole idea of whatever you do to your face, you have to do to your neck, that came from someone who actually said, we work from nips up. And I was like, oh, nips up, okay. Which I actually said in the film. I don't think it made it in the final edit, but like things like that, all that language, just deepens the character and the understanding. But I did a lot of facials, and then I practiced on my family, which my kids still love getting facials from me. I still, I lay it all out and I do the process with them. They love it. So it's actually bonding us. And I'm kind of, that's a tradition I'm taking home.
That's fantastic. Well, and this movie has such a unique tone and style. And with director Austin Peters mostly being in the music video world, what made you confident in his vision for a full-length feature?
It's a great question. I watched his documentary that he did with Diplo, and I was really moved by it. Like I literally cried. I thought, oh wow, this is a guy who knows how to pull emotion out of a surprising situation. I didn't know if he would have a real language for actors, but I also felt very confident about my connection to Hope Goldman. I'm not sure that I would have done this with a first-time feature director if I was a little less connected to the character. At the same time, he had such a strong sense of what he wanted to say and do with the movie. And also, I love noir. I love the milieu of LA and like this time period. We had shared a lot of the same references, which was really fun. And so I just felt very confident that he was going to be a great voice. You're always taking a chance. And I just felt like he was somebody that I feel like, and now that I've seen the product, I know he's going to have a big career, and I'm super excited to have been a part of it.
What was the biggest difference that you noticed with a full-length feature after coming from the music video world? Like the biggest difference?
I think the scale of it is just so much larger. It sounds obvious and silly to say, but I was shocked by the amount of times where I was blown away by the scale of it and how that changed the approach to editing or shooting or anything. Just, that was really a big change.
Well, and Elizabeth Banks had some really great things to say about you. What was the key in getting such great talent involved with the project?
Elizabeth, agreed to do this movie, and I think that I probably will owe her for the rest of my life because she did. And she responded to the script and she responded to the material, and we met and talked about it, and we hit it off and found that our vision for it was the same and was aligned, and that was the moment where everything sort of shifted with this movie, and it started feeling like it was a real movie.
Can't believe that you got this whole movie shot in just 18 days. That is unreal. Can you talk about the chaos of trying to complete such a stylish feature in such a short time?
It was fast, and it was involved a lot of prep. We just prepped with my department heads and Chris Ripley, the DP, and we just watched a ton of movies and talked about it and made storyboards, and then really what made it possible and worked with Paul Silver, the AD, Chris and I would just sit down with him every weekend and try to work through the schedule, figure out what was doable. And really the thing that makes it really more doable than anything is the actors, is the fact that they're so good and they were so ready and so amazing that we didn't need to spend a day trying to find where the scene was. They came prepared, and they came with so many great ideas that once we started shooting, it just felt like lightning in a bottle.
Well, and as amazing as Elizabeth Banks is in the movie, because she really is, I have to ask you about Lewis Pullman. This man is just a force of nature, and I imagine
Truly.
casting him could be a bit of a light bulb moment as a filmmaker. Did he just come up through auditions, or how did he get involved?
He's in a film that my friend Ethan Berger directed, called The Line, which is coming out in October, which is a great film, and I watched an early cut of that, and I saw Lewis in it, and I thought, oh my God, this guy is amazing. And then I went back and looked at his stuff, and my producers, Jonathan and Logan, had just done a film with him, and they could not say enough nice stuff about him. So we gave him the script, and him and I met up at a diner, and we talked about it, and he just went to work bringing it to life and bringing so much to the character, and coming up with references and ideas and jewelry and how he was going to dress and how he was going to walk and all that kind of stuff, which I think really, brought this character to life and gave him legs.
Well, and I've talked to some of the other actors in the film, and they've all pretty much, one of the common themes has been image and what you project out. What made you want to use skincare to tell this story?
I think that skincare is this thing which is seemingly so innocuous, and that it's just something that hopefully we all do and should take care of our skin. But also the skin is what you show the world, and what people see. And so it feels like that's your first layer against protecting what's inside from the outside and what the outside sees when they look at you. So it felt like this perfect metaphor about how far you're willing to go to save your own image,
Well, and with such a short production schedule, what was the most unexpected challenge that you had in the edit?
That's a tough question. I think in the edit, we had a lot of getting the music right took a long time, and we're a small movie, and so we had to have a lot of the artists had to approve the use of their music in the film, and want to support us. And so just sort of like knocking down those goals one by one and getting people to watch it who have very busy careers and don't want to sit down and watch a work in progress, 98-minute movie, getting them to do that and then getting them to agree to it afterwards, was a challenge, and one of the most rewarding parts of it as well.
When I was surprised to see actor Logan Lerman as one of your producers, how did you resist the urge to cast him in the film?
Well, my hand was forced in it because he was busy shooting. We were the lucky ones around the same time we were shooting, and he ended up being on set for quite a few days, but it was totally, it just became possible in the last days, and so, Logan is obviously such an incredible actor, and had I known that he would be more readily available, I would not have been able to resist an opportunity to stick him into some scene, whatever it would be. But his fingerprints are all over the movie, so I'm super grateful for that collaboration with him, and I hope that we get to continue to work together.
I have to ask you, because I was really curious in the movie, are Hope's products actually coming from Italy? Because I was waiting for the reveal that they were from like Milwaukee or something.
No, that's an amazing idea. But no, they were always from Italy, and
Okay.
in the big budget version of this film, we imagined a scene of her being in Italy working on them and stuff. But yeah, our movie is an Italian American co-production, and we shot a little bit in Rome, though not with any of the cast. And so they have a huge, one of the highest level of natural skincare laboratories, I think, in Milan or in Rome. And so that just felt like such a natural tie-in to sort of reflect the process of making it. And that's where we got it. And Elizabeth just ran with it, and she would always toss it in, and it was just so funny. We just loved it.
Your character in this is absolutely unhinged, and I loved him so much. It was such a blast. What was the trick behind maintaining your high energy levels throughout the film?
Oh man, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, he does have some high octane energy, doesn't he? I think I was like, oh, what did I do? Well, I didn't have my car at that point because I left it in New Mexico. I was shooting it over there, and I took a break to go shoot this. I just had my little dirt bike. And so I drove my dirt bike to and from work, which was the first time I'd ever done that. And that really like wakes you up. You show up feeling like you're pretty amped and ready to go. And that, I would say, that helped. And then just like, the energy on set was like everyone was very excited to be there, and everyone was excited to be telling the story, and everyone had such good characters. It was so well written, and Austin Peters like was directed the heck out of this thing and was like just such good energy. And so like that, it's just contagious, intoxicating.
Well, and Austin is such a good director, and I'm shocked that he's only been doing music videos before this. So, as an actor, how are you able to like have the faith that a first-time director is going to be able to knock it out of the park like he did?
Yeah, I mean, I met with him, and I had already watched a lot of his music videos that he had made. And then and I always noticed that each one of them isn't just kind of it's not just a tonal kind of landscape. It's all has narrative woven within it. And so really beautifully and intricately. And so I was like, oh, it's natural to him. He already has the urge and the desire and the impulse to do that. And then on top of that, just meeting with him and how much time he'd spent with this script in this world, and how there was not a shot that he didn't know exactly how he wanted to shoot it. And how he wanted to feel, how he wanted to look. Like he's not just about like, the story. He's also very much about the, injecting the color and the feeling and like the nostalgia of the time. And he worked really closely with our great DP, Chris Ripley, on how they were going to manage that. And watching it for the first time a couple months ago, I was like, God, they really did good. It's beautiful, right? It's beautiful.
Yeah, it does not look like a film that was made in 18 days in any way.
Right. I know.
So
Gosh.
the character of Jordan is really all over the place from one moment to the next. Even his sexuality is discussed as being mysterious. As an actor, what was the most important element of Jordan to get across to the audience?
Oh, good question. I think, well, kind of the thing that drove me within each scene was like he wants him kind of like calculating who he thinks the person that's in front of him wants him to be. And so almost like imagining their best version of who they want to be sitting in front of, and then trying to become that and trying to become the most charismatic, like best version of that. So in terms of like what his personality is, I think that Jordan is very lost and doesn't really have a center of gravity really. And so he is kind of this amoeba that's always kind of like amorphous and depending on, and it's a survival mechanism, it's we talked a lot, Dawson and I, about what his past was like, and there's even some that was discussed. There was a scene when Elizabeth and I first were in the bar, and they're getting drinks, and there was a whole scene that was cut, which it makes sense why it was cut, but it was about his past, and it was kind of a great thing to even be able to play out despite it not being in there, because I was able to kind of explore whether that was true, whether it wasn't, whether he maybe had convinced himself it was true despite it being a lie, and like what his idea of reality was. And so the more you kind of go into those layers, the crazier it gets, and so that kind of that mind screw, I can't say the F word, is
Oh
was
no, you
actually
can.
I can. That mind
Yeah.
fuck is really what kind of like also it helped his spiral,
Yeah. Well, and you've been in such a wide variety of roles over the years that it's kind of hard to recognize you in like from film to film sometimes. Have you always strived to be a cinematic chameleon?
Oh man, I that's music to my ears, man. Thank you. I never considered myself as such, but I'll take that title gladly. I mean, yeah, I think it is. Yeah, you never want to. You don't want to really kind of sing the same song over and over again, right? You get sick of the sound of your own voice, and so that's always been a real goal of mine, and also to keep, that's a great lesson my dad taught me, is like, just to keep the longevity of your interest in this whole game is that's crucial for it, so to keep yourself engaged and keep yourself pushing and going, breaking your boundaries, do it selfishly in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Well, and is there a type of character that you've always wanted to play that has eluded you to this point?
Man, that's a good question. I mean, it's every character that I've been so glad that I got the chance to play. I never would have imagined myself, conjuring it. So I almost lean away from the manifestations, because I feel like I've been gifted so many opportunities that I never would have, been able to imagine
Yeah.
them.
Well, you have
Hi.
a very, very complicated role in skincare. So, spoilers aside, you are essentially the villain of the story. Everything your character does is interpreted as having like ill intentions. And I'm curious, did you just play Angel as a man going about his day, or like he was out to get Hope?
No, no, no. I think for me it was very important to this guy is a Latin guy. We never say exactly where is he from, but he's obviously, like Mexican or whatever, like myself. Even if he has blonde hair or whatever, he might be gay as well. So it's like a minority plus two, right? So he's just doing his job. The only thing that he wants is to do a good job. That's it. The way he's perceived by this woman is like, this guy wants to kill me. This guy wants to destroy what I built, which is a very interesting take of how sometimes the things works in the US, right? So for me, it was
Yeah.
very important to be very honest in portraying this role. But of course, that was just my desire as an actor. When you're doing a movie, you need to subscribe to what the director wants to say. And Austin is a very smart director, and he wants to create this thriller that is very intriguing and fascinating for the audience. So, yeah, like every gesture I did was very well thought, because we need to make the audience, like think that this might happen. This guy maybe had something to do with it. He might not, but That's one of the most beautiful things of doing a thriller with a good director, because like acting gets so subtle that I think that's very enjoyable as an actor.
The small moments in your performance that are the most intriguing as a viewer. And so,
Thanks.
since the story is told through the perspective of Hope Goldman, I was fascinated by the villainization of your character because it's
Yeah.
whether it's Angel. I didn't catch it until the second viewing, but whether it's Angel like standing up for his parking places or like taking a client of hers, did you struggle at all with making sure that Angel wasn't outright evil?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to take care of him. I mean, you know what? It was very easy, honestly, because I worked with Elizabeth Banks before. She directed Charlie's Angels, and she directed me there. We became good friends, and we have like same taste about comedy and the things we like. So we speak like the same language. So it's really easy to say horrible things to people you love, like as an actor, like because there's like a professional intimacy, and everything
Yeah,
is just it's just for the fiction, it's
yeah.
so it creates like a better way of creating this tension that you saw in the movie, and I'm glad you saw it.
Yeah. When walking that line must be very difficult. Was there anything that you made sure that Angel strictly never did to like just to never tip off the audience to his true intentions?
uh I don't know, man. I don't know. I fully trusted Austin in this process, like because he will come to me and he will whisper in my ear like meaner, like meaner or less. Like so he was
Yeah.
actually directing me, like um this is a very unpopular opinion, but sometimes directors they don't direct actors that much, and Austin did. He was very precise of what he wanted, and I think that's the reason the movie works so well in terms of the thriller and all the tension that it has in it.
When your role in particular is so complex, and with Austin being a first-time feature director, was there any bit of concern of some of the nuance in your performance being lost in like the edit?
No, not really. For us, it was very important to. There's this scene where you see my character like singing karaoke in his house, and that was a scene that was very important for both of us because it's the only moment when we show this character's inner life, like he's the successful one in the movie, like this movie is a love letter to Los Angeles and to the culture in Los Angeles, and this culture of stay relevant, be more successful, be healthier, look better, and so in theory this guy should be happy, right? Because he has everything he wants, he's the number one, he has the NASA technology for skincare, he should be happy, right? And when you have a chance to see him performing this song, you realize he's somehow broken as well. And the way we built that was like thinking this guy was a dancer probably, or he was a singer probably, that he wanted that, and that's the reason he moved to LA. He didn't achieve that, and now he's working in the universe of skincare, and he succeeded there, but that wasn't exactly what he wanted. So and I also think that's very relatable to the culture in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that scene in particular, because again, I watched the movie twice, and the second viewing was the time I finally picked up on like, yes, how much that just kind of lends to it gives so much of the this texture of that character in particular. And did you help pick out the song or anything like that? Because it really does just make everything about that character so tragic.
Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't. At the beginning is when it was gonna be "Careless Whisper" by George Michael, and I spent like a month rehearsing that song with a choreographer because I wanted to do something very sexy and weird and crazy. So I was working with this choreographer in France, or in Switzerland. I don't remember. I was somewhere else. And 1 week before shooting the scene, Austin came to me and he was like, "Hey, I have news for you. We're gonna change the song." And I was like, "What?" So yeah, anyway, it was that shit happens. That's the way
Yeah.
this business works, and you just need to go with the flow and play with it. I mean, and it's The Cure. The Cure is one of my favorite bands, so I had no problem with that. But it was like a complete different vibe, Careless Whisper to this song, right? So anyway, but it's I love singing in front of a camera. You know, like I think when you see a character singing, it's very special.
Yeah, it's very vulnerable and says and speaks so much to the character themselves. And I love that scene so much. So and that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for talking with me today. This has been
Tyler,
great.
thank you so much. Have a great day.
Sometimes you have to start a fire to put it out.
I think it's about what are you willing to do to get to where you want to be.
See you on the